we would do that walkthrough press release in conjunction with that report of the audit, that interim report. So that never happened either, right?
We still have to reassign that. We were aiming for this meeting to have it done, but the various components never came together.
Okay.
So we will have to reassign time for that, and I don't know how you would prefer us to make corrections and miss deadlines.
I don't know that you can on your actual minutes
Yeah,
themselves. That
yeah.
would be something, that's a different conversation.
Yep. Okay.
Correct. The minutes just reflect what was talked about
Right.
at that meeting. So you would correct the minutes if there were inaccuracies, but the fact that a deadline wasn't made, it still is viable to be in the minutes.
It's a different conversation, so.
Any other committee feedback for the minutes?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes with my correction.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with your correction.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passed. Moving on. We have nothing for the consent calendar, so we will move to our agenda. Item A, planning and editing of the annual year-end report. So we have nothing posted on our website for public discussion, so we'll have to basically focus on rescheduling the various components and assign a deadline for this and have it ready for public review at the next meeting. So Georgette, we had that broken up into various sections.
Right, and we've already assigned topics
Right.
to members and committees, and I just haven't received any feedback except for Gary's under, I think, the audit, and I'm assuming, I think it was the audit that I saw the changes on. But I haven't received any feedback from everybody else. We need to schedule a date because I'd like to make sure that, everything is put together before we actually include it as part of our agenda for next meeting and actually, print it out for the public to see and review. So if we're gonna meet a month from now, I really suggest that everybody should really focus and actually get going on it and perhaps schedule a date or a due date for us to just to submit it, maybe 2 weeks from now, or 2.5 weeks from now. It's just that I need to have time to, put it together and actually include it as part of the agenda for the next meeting. Because typically you need it a week prior, right? Or the school or
So
the district.
what we ask is, so like for the meeting today, for example, today is Wednesday, the 22nd. So the timeline that we give is really that everybody should have, we try to get it from the chair really the Monday before. So that would be the 13th if you're looking at the calendar, because that gives us time to go through it, get the agenda put together. And if we have any questions or anything, it gives us time to go back and communicate that. And then we have to do the posting by Friday. So having it that Monday before just gives us the leeway. So it's just over a week ahead.
Okay,
So a week and 2 days ahead.
Yeah.
correct, yeah. And so that's why I'm asking for 2 weeks prior to the meeting. So that way I can at least put it together because I'm not sure how people are going to give me their input.
Okay, so we might have to jump ahead and try to figure out when we can schedule our next meeting so we can figure out what our timeline is.
Right.
John, do you have a rough idea of when we could have another meeting?
So looking
far
at
as-
Wednesdays right now, for the month of September, I don't have any problem coming down to any meetings that you guys may need. And then if we count out the weeks as Georgette suggests, if you're at 4 weeks, that puts you on 26 September. Or if you go to 5 weeks, just to give yourself that little bit of buffer, that gives you to the 3rd of October. So
So Tad, remember, we as the Bond Oversight Committee, we were trying to publish a report for the month of September, right? I seriously doubt that we're gonna make that deadline, so I think we should push it down towards end of calendar year perhaps at the latest. Just because, you know, we're gonna meet in September, we're gonna see public feedback, and I'm sure there's gonna be questions that we're gonna need to be able to answer, and we need to answer it together as a committee, right? So I'm assuming there's gonna be like maybe 2 reiterations of this report until it becomes final.
So,
That's why I'm assuming it's gonna be truly a December publish, but accomplishing the, you know, from the time we were actually were put together in June of last year up to a certain point, such as July of 2018. I don't know what the I keep forgetting fiscal year for the school, but.
July 1 it begins.
Right, so maybe capture from June through end of June this year for this for the last fiscal year for the school, but not release it until perhaps November, December timeframe, because like I said, if we're gonna present it to the public next month, you know, we wanna make sure that we accept, you know, we receive their feedback, accept it, make corrections or whatnot, and then we're gonna come back again the month of October, show them the changes or whatever, and they gotta bless it and approve it, you know, everybody
So-
as a committee.
And if I may, the timeline that you're suggesting sort of falls in line even with what the schools do, just based on the fact of, like we were talking about before, our CBO, our chief business official, is working to close those books right now. And then, you know, with the closing of the books, really, which happens like August, September timeframe, then in October, they see the audit, right? So it's really not until the end of the calendar year, typically, that the audited actuals are presented back to the board. So what you're talking about, if you're looking at it from a fiscal year perspective, I think that actually gives you guys the time that you need. And understand, while it is stretched over several months, I know from the school's perspective, right, the business office is just really, really scrambling to get it done in those couple of months. So you have a lot of work to do. So I'm not suggesting that you do it at the end of the year, or that you do it in August 31st. That's totally up to you, but I just don't want to see you guys give yourself too short of a timeline, because I think what you're describing sounds right. Now, I know Gary has a lot of experience with this, right? So Gary may want to chime in, but just from what you're describing from my perspective, it sounds reasonable.
But you just mentioned the audit, is that something that we're supposed to receive prior, like way
No,
prior?
different.
Oh, different,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right, I just want to
So-
make sure that we're not.
Yeah, no, we don't, the school district usually doesn't even get the audit until January, I think, is the time frame that they typically receive it. And I'm not in the business office, but I think she usually gets it back around then. So it's December, January timeframe is when it gets presented to the board, I believe.
Okay,
No, we don't have to necessarily program our annual report. It's just whatever the most current audit that we've had that hasn't been reported on would be included, but,
yeah,
you know, I think, you know, getting year-end data is important, and it wouldn't be, for example, we're looking now to go through 2018. We're not going to have the audit for 2018.
right.
We'd have to wait 6 months from now to get it, 5 months at least. So, you know, we just want to take a cutoff and report at that time, and the closer we report to that cutoff, otherwise, you know, something happens significant in this next 2 weeks, well, we've cut off 30 June, it'll go in next year's, it'll be old news. So,
Right,
you know, I think we really need to push to get this report out, and if it's not all inclusive, it's not inclusive. We go with what we have and do a report. So,
so how about the timeline then? I mean, is that appropriate for it to be presentable to the public in final format by end of calendar year? I mean, is that,
it's kind of up to us,
I think we should,
but we're late from what we said in our bylaws.
right,
As close as we could stick to that timeline that
Yep.
we've already disclosed that we were going to follow would probably be best at this point.
Well, if we have I don't think we need to put another date for the end of this calendar year. That's kind of pushing it out. I think we can do it quicker than that.
Okay, so the logic is next month, we present what we have to the public, get their feedback, approval or whatnot, and then make the corrections if needed, and then hopefully the following month, we'll be at the final stage? Is that, I mean,
That's reasonable, but if we have
the public sector where it takes like a couple
yeah.
of iterations.
So if we have our meeting at the last Wednesday in September on the 26th, then we would have to have the stuff posted on the website by Monday, the 17th,
Yes.
Well, given to the district by the 17th.
given to the district by the 17th. So that means, as committee members, we're going to have to scramble to get everything together much earlier than that. So
Right.
Georgette and other CBOC folks can put it together.
I mean, if we're gonna set the meeting for the 26th, if I can receive the documents perhaps by the 11th, September 11th, or September 12th will be fine. By September 12th, so then it'll give me time to go through it, clean it up if needed, and put it together.
And that'll give you enough time to have it to us by the 17th? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure on that. So we can check council chambers for the
Yep.
26th. And if it is or isn't available, I don't know until we check. If it's not, for any reason, do you want us to look at the 19th or to look at the 3rd?
You have to look at the 3rd.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back.
Again, not my decision, that's why I'm asking. So, okay, very good. So we'll look at the 26th or the 3rd.
So if it's September 26th, all information regarding the report is due to me by the 12th. So the 12th, and then if it happens to be October 3rd, I need information by the 19th.
And I will get the information to you, John, for posting.
Please, thank you. Yeah, just, like I said, it gives us time to sort of go through it and make sure that we get everything on the agenda and the backup, but also, like last week, I know we had some emails that went back and forth with just some questions, and it just saves us from having to do that last-minute scramble.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Is on the format that you sent out on the year-end meeting, is it indicated on there who you're expecting input from? Because you said that areas have been assigned.
Yeah, I had emailed it to everybody, all the committee members. Yes, so it's still the same website subcommittee. I've emailed the members about they need to put their input in there. And I think on the report itself, I think it even says who is supposed to be putting
Yeah,
information.
Yeah, I saw names on there. I was wondering if that's what we're relying upon.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So, Georgette, would you be so kind as to put out a new summary to the CBOC members with the assigned
Of course.
dates and
Okay.
their responsibilities? That way there's no confusion.
Sure, I sure will.
And I would like to make a suggestion. When you're trying to do a report over a year, at the end of that year isn't the time to start doing it. And I think, I don't know, we formed a report committee last time, didn't we?
What do you mean by that, Gary, when you say formed a report?
I-
I remember we formed a subcommittee to put together topics and assign them? Is that what you mean by that, or?
I don't know, I'd have to look back. I didn't see anything in the minutes about that, but I thought we had discussed. All I'm saying is, as we go through the year and significant things come up, that's the time to start documenting it. And, who we decide to do that, I don't know, and but that's the way.
Yeah.
And then you're not scrambling and trying to remember things and digging back and looking for records and things, so
Oh, I agree, because that's what I'm doing right now.
That-
But once we have this report, we have some kind of template, so now, you know, as we go through our meetings, we have at least somewhere to place, you know, critical information on, so, yeah, no, I totally agree.
Okay. Public comment on the agenda item A.
Yes, I'm the only public here. I just wanted to remind you that November will be 2 years since the citizens of this community are paying for this Measure Q. And going to December, that's too far out. I will suggest, and that should have done before, but since it hasn't done, I will suggest each committee member turn to Georgette their suggestions to the report, and then 3 of you meet and go through what those, you know, the report will be, and then at the next meeting, you have your draft for public comments. You might not get any public comments except, you know, my public comments, but I can always make my comments public anyway. So, you know, you might consider this and have the report out as soon as possible. Know that there is a big interest from the citizens. However, the law requires you once a year to have a report, and you haven't done that.
Right.
Yes, we use the subcommittee on some other topics, so that is a good suggestion. Okay, ready to move on? Okay. Item A was just a discussion item, so no action. Item B, review of expense reports and budget pertaining to Measure Q. And we did receive numerous documents.
Yes, and as I explained to Georgette, I apologize, you just got those. Our business office, our chief business official is working on closing the year-end books. She put this together as fast as she could. And you'll see through there when you look, sometimes there is some corrections, and that's typical on a budget through the year where they do tos and do froms. But it is all there. And I don't know if you looked at the email traffic, but as soon as I got it, I sent it out to you.
Yep.
So I'll try to answer any questions if you have any tonight, although I'm definitely not our financial expert in the district. So, yeah, fire away.
Well, have these documents been posted on either the school district or the Measure Q website yet?
So they, with having just received them yesterday, they have, our person who handles that was not available, but they will
Okay.
get posted up there.
Okay.
So,
Should we revisit it then at the next meeting, just in case we do have questions, just because of the lateness of the time that we got them?
Yeah, they weren't available for public review.
unfortunately not, no, so.
Yeah, I'd like to see them back on the agenda next time. I just glanced at the one that goes through June 2018. I didn't even look at this one for the next year, so
Okay.
should probably put them back on the agenda. if people
And
have-
just so you know, the one that goes through June of 18 is pretty much the same as what we had visited along with the audit. So you really, I mean, there might have been some cleanup work that was done at year-end close, but I don't think there were many adjustments made on that. But yeah, we can definitely make sure to include this on the agenda for next time as well and have them as part of the packet.
Yeah, I didn't bring my expense reports, but it seems that there's a number of contractors or vendors or whatever on here that I don't recall seeing in the last report, but I don't have that one with me, so.
Well, the last report did cover through the end, well, I'm trying to think of when the last report was. So, for the most part, there's really not very many different vendors. LPA is the architect. There is also, and I'm just going off the top of my head without looking through it, there was a Miracle Play System that was part of the ADA work done over at the Sylvieville campus. One new one that you'll see on there is Architectural Nexus. It was a small, I think it was 8,000, and that's for part of that ADA fire life safety work. That's for the security fencing project, the modernization work that needs to be done at Gretchen Higgins, because we have several classrooms as well as the 2 kinder rooms that open to the street. So we're dealing with that. And I'm trying to think of who else. You'll have DSA as a vendor, which is Division of State Architect. They require fees. Cooperative Strategies has been on there, as is Atkinson Andelson. Felipe Engineering, you should have seen last time, as well as Cal Inc. Training. Cal Inc. Training is their corporate name. Cal Inc. does a lot of the remediation work for us. They come in cheapest typically to remove any asbestos or lead. They actually did the portable demo as well. And then Felipe Engineering did the survey work for us. So, and I think, and Rua and Son, you'll now see, they're the ones who are doing roofs.
Did we receive copies of all these contracts?
So all the contracts are posted on these. If you'd like copies sent to you, we can do that for you.
Posted where?
They should be posted on the business section of our site. So, but I can double check that for you.
That's a school district site.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least I believe so, and I don't post them, so I'll check it for you, but if not, we can definitely post them, or we can just send them direct. I'm not sure what the standard procedure is on that.
Well, I don't know what our procedure is now, because when we started out, the contracts were included in, coming to the committee, and you go back and you see the architecture contract and cooperative strategies, and then it's, then the DUDIC, I believe that one is posted. But most of these others never got on our website.
Well, typically, any contracts that we've sent over have been requested, and that's just how we've been doing it. It's, and I'm not saying that in any way. I see the frustration on your face there to tell you that you can't have them. What I'm telling you is we've just been sending them upon request.
No,
If you'd
that's
like
not-
us to post contracts as far as anything pertaining to the bond, to just post them, I don't see there being an issue with that.
I don't have frustration, I'm just having questions. And on September 13th, 2017, we went over what was to be required on the website, and I'm not getting ahead of myself. I won't, because we're going to discuss that also, but we talked about then talking about contracts and things. That's why we formed the contract subcommittee, at least to give us some oversight. So I'm going to discuss that with Georgette, and we'll come back in writing what we would like to see put on our website as far as contracts.
Sure.
Any other committee discussion on the budget documents? Public comment on item B on the budget documents?
I'm a little slow, my back is out. But what I would like to know is why we're paying $2,400 out of our bond funds, because the board requested that the attorney come down from Fresno, and he charged us $2,400 to tell you that you had to take a vote. That's not something that you requested. That's not something that is related to the bond itself, and it shouldn't be coming out of bond funds. And I'm wondering when, if ever, somebody's going to question that. Thank you.
So is that accurate?
So what I will tell you is that there are legal fees that are associated with the bond, and if anybody has any questions regarding those legal fees, the place to actually ask those questions would be at a board meeting. Obviously, the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee doesn't control what the district spends on legal fees, right? So the board would be the appropriate place to ask that question.
So I think that the appropriate question to ask, and based on that, is, are there questions that we would have as a committee, that could generate legal fees from your attorney because we have to have those questions answered?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Are there questions that this committee could ask that in order to answer them, it would generate legal fees and having the attorney have to answer them personally?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we need to be cognizant of that, I would think, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, if we need legal advice, we should ask for it regardless.
But expect that it would come out of that's what I'm trying to get at, expect that legal advice,
Pays for it.
the fees for that legal advice would be coming out of the bond because we as the committee are the oversight of the bond. We're associated with it?
So anything that pertains to the bond is being charged to the bond.
Right.
Why wouldn't that
This-
just be a routine school board expense?
Yes, that's my point. It's an administrative expense. It's not something that this bond committee requested or asked for. If the board had a problem with this, that's fine. They need to pay the bill. You guys don't have control of the money, but you have control of saying, this isn't right. It's supposed to be used for construction, not for every little thing to stall you out or to block you from doing what you're doing or to making requests to the board. That's nonsense. I mean, as it is, we're paying a secretary out of the bond money. I mean, where does this stop? I didn't give them $29 million to spend on getting a guy to come up from Fresno to tell us what we already knew and what we already did, and he didn't even bother to review the minutes or the tape, if it was even available. I understand that the minutes that were supposed to be online, because somebody had requested them, Mr. Khalil said they were there at the website. Guess what? We had somebody go and look, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I looked, Mr. Chiramello. I'm not sure where they looked, but they are up on the website.
Well, you must have them hidden pretty well, because
no.
there's several people that have looked.
So, bold lettering on the right side, please look, and I'll instruct you the same as I instructed the person. Click on Citizens Bond Oversight, and on the right side, you'll see bold lettering, and you will see unadopted minutes, and that's where they are.
Okay, well, we had somebody that looked, and they said they weren't there, so I haven't checked myself. I'm just going by what somebody else said. But I mean, this is nonsense. This $2,400 is minor expenditure. If the board makes that decision, I'm not going to go to the board and question it. But I think you, as bond oversight committee people, should be questioning the board or asking them what justification do they have for spending construction money on an attorney that's not related to some report or whatever that they're denying you or whatever. Just to give you instruction? I suppose we paid out of bond money to have the other attorney come down here and give us a crap-ass presentation on the Brown Act. That's no good. Those are part of administrative expenses that should just be part of the board's expenditures. They're the ones that wanted this bond. They wanted to build these schools up. That's fine, then let's do that. But don't hit us with all these other fees that have nothing to do with the construction. And that's the whole point. This is not about construction. This was about an interaction between the board and this group. Had nothing to do with the bond, other than you're the oversight committee. That's rather specious of an argument to say that because it has something to do with this board, that therefore they could charge it to the bond. I'm not going to take this to court. Everything that you do that's illegal, we could take to court. You know, when it comes right down to it, I threatened the board several times. You keep this crap up, and you're going to find that as one of the payers of this thing, I'm going to complain. And when I do, they're going to restrict you from spending any more money until it's resolved, until you do it right. I don't want to go down that route. I want to see these schools taken care of. But don't hit us with these fees that are unnecessary.
I wasn't going to speak on this item. However, I have to reply to Mr. Khalil's statement. My many years' involvement with the city and the school district have taught me to take screen photos of everything that I'm looking and it's not right. So I have screen photos of the Ban Oversight Committee website, Measure Q, as late as 5:30 this afternoon, and the minutes were not there, John.
I'm looking at them, Arania.
I don't know.
Arania, I don't run the website. I am not IT, and I've been very clear in saying this. I'm looking at them on my screen right now, and we could show the rest of the committee if you'd like. So, and what I see is for August 22nd, right, we have the agenda. For July 18th, we have the 6:27 meeting, unadopted minutes, and I believe that's what we're looking for.
No.
Well-
They're right
no,
there.
We're looking for the unadopted minutes from the last meeting, not 6:27.
Oh, well, then I apologize. I
7:28.
stand corrected. I apologize.
Yeah, we're
So,
looking,
you see, but that's,
It's a
I'm
lot-
glad that you said that, because honestly, this is what happens. So there's no need to argue about it. You know what? Obviously, I made a mistake. I apologize.
No.
So again, I'm not the IT guy. So you come up here and, you know, I'm glad that you have screenshots. I am. But don't assume we're trying to hide something. We're not.
Well, what I'm saying, the June meeting minutes were approved in July. So when you get the agenda for this meeting, the minutes of the July, unadopted minutes of the July meeting should be part of the agenda. I received the agenda from the school district on Friday. No minutes were included. I went to the website 3-4 times during, I thought, oh, maybe, you know, they were not ready or what. There were no minutes included. I received an email from Ginger Emerson, who sent an
Who I
email
responded
out.
to.
And you responded to, and you told her the minutes were on the website. She called me about 5:30 today, and she says, I cannot come to the meeting, but I'm still looking for the July minutes. And I went in and looked at them, and those minutes were not on the website.
So I appreciate that. And as I've said, please, okay. I'm not, Arania, I'm trying to answer you. You're walking away.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll listen.
With all due respect, as I said, what I was referring to was those June minutes. Why the July minutes aren't on there under the August, I can't give you an answer. I can speculate, I can guess, but I'm not going to do that.
Well-
What I'll tell you is that I will go back and have that conversation with the appropriate people to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Well, besides being on the website, they should have been included as attachment under approval of the meetings with the agenda that went out on Friday. That's what the law requires. You have an agenda and the backup material to be included. And the district, I had to go out to the school district at the last meeting to get some information, and they were not there.
Actually,
So-
that's a whole other topic, and they were. So we should
No,
have
no,
that
they were
conversation in
not.
another place.
They were not. Our attorney did not get any minutes, so.
Okay, thank you.
John, not to beat a dead horse, but something just glitched with that, because those minutes were posted. I tried to print, it wouldn't let me print. I tried my work computer, it was there, I still couldn't print, came home, and there was nothing there. So there's a glitch going
So
on.
that's good to know, because I do know that after and I'll talk to the website, the people who built it, because with the June 27th meeting, about an hour prior to the meeting, the agenda and actually all the backup material had fallen off the website. And we were able to get a hold of them at actually about 4:30, and they fixed it immediately. So if that problem should have been resolved, again, I don't control
Yep.
everything that goes up on the website. To the best of my knowledge, everything was there. So if it did fall off, we'll talk to the website designer and see what's going on, and they'll be able to go in and look at code and everything and figure that out. So, thank you.
So it was a glitch, and I sent an email back to you, Aurelia, about that, because it was there and then it wasn't. So, sorry about that. Okay, moving on. Item C, follow up after walkthrough. So, the point of this was, that press release, but in light of public comment, I think we probably need to spend a little bit of time on that as well to let the community know what our actions have been as members of this committee. So I have a reasonable draft. I just like some input, because it's been a challenging task writing a 3-page summary that kind of tells everything that's happened, gives enough background about everything that would make and capture the reader's interest. So I just wanted to put that up for discussion.
I would like to see your draft. However, I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this, but you have the wrong contact email for me, as does the rest of the committee. I've only received one email in the last 3 months at the new email address from this committee. That was from Julie. I don't know what happened when all these email addresses got made, but I couldn't get into the one that was made, so I had to make another one. So that's why I wasn't here at the last meeting. The prior meetings was job-related, but that's another story. I don't want to get in the weeds on that. But, again, I haven't seen any emails. I haven't seen anything from Gary, from anybody else, from you. So I will make sure you have the proper email address. I would like to table that for the next meeting, so I can get a chance to look and give you feedback. I'll give it
Okay.
to you right away, within
Okay.
72 hours. But again, you don't have the proper contact information for me at this point. My cell number hasn't changed, but my email.
I'll just
was-
go back and use the Robert 88 then.
Yeah, well, I have a Gmail account for this now. It's just I had to put my last initial in, because I fought with this thing, tried to get a hold of the members that created those emails, and, hey, how did you do this? What's the default password to get in? How do I fix this? Didn't get anywhere with that, so I just made another one. So there was never any information sent to the old email addresses once these were created, and, hey, this is how we did it. There was none of that. So be that as it may, just before we all leave tonight, just so you know that there is another email address for me. Maybe I should announce it public, I
Why
don't
don't
know.
you just
but-
say it right now?
Okay, so,
Yeah, because it needs to be
It's going to
corrected.
go on a public website,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, now let's go ahead and get that housekeeping issue out of the way.
Secret.
It is roberts.dixoncboc@gmail.com. So, and if you, I hate to ask myself to be pounded in email, but if you want to forward me the last 2 months, no problem. I'll make some time to look at it, review everything, but definitely I'll be looking for your draft and give you some feedback as somebody who didn't go on the walkthrough. When I read it, I'm coming into it completely cold, so that would be a good,
So
My
we never
emails
did
that
it.
was Sent to you.
just one.
Sent 3 yesterday to that same address.
Just got the one from you.
Didn't happen.
Robert, just for your information,
didn't do the
Jack
walk.
ran into the same problem. So his Dixon Seabock at Gmail email address doesn't work either.
Yeah, I mean, I just put in my last initial. It was, once you create it, it's taken, and you can't, unless you have a way to get to it with that default password, or a recovery account to send the password to, that's the way Gmail works. They're not going to let you in. So you can call Google and yell at them all you want. It doesn't, so you just make another one and send it on and, go from there.
Tad, did you say Jack's email's incorrect as well?
The Dixon Seabock at Gmail has never worked for him.
Okay.
Yeah, he just needs to add the first initial of his last name, and that'll take care of it.
Well, can somebody just confirm, because I don't want to keep sending
Yeah,
emails to the wrong
you're
people
gonna
I'm
have to use this.
expecting.
You're gonna have to use.
I'll get a
this-
hold of Jack and let him know. We can see if we can set that up. I'll actually see if I can set it up for him and then give him the default password so he can get in and change it and go from there.
Wow.
That's kind of my forte,
Yeah,
so I'm
'cause-
an IT guy.
He's got feedback. to
Wonderful, wonderful. If you'd get those 2 emails well, you got yours taken care of. If
Yeah.
you get Jack's taken care of, that'd be great.
Sounds like a plan.
There were 2 emails that they had problems with, but I thought they got resolved.
We'll take care of it. In fact, I will take care of Jack's as soon as I get to my computer
We're all
this evening.
supposed to be up to date.
All right, so I'll send out the draft and solicit feedback from you guys. All right. Any
Wait,
other
so,
public?
I'm sorry. So we were talking about the summary to that interim report for the press release. So you've got draft already. He's gonna review it with you, and then you guys are gonna release. Well, what's
No,
the? Oh, I'm
no.
sorry.
At the previous meeting, we, as a committee, voted on sending out a short press release
Mm-hmm.
in conjunction with the walkthrough of the school. So when that happens, we'll send it out.
Okay, but the interim report is on the website, right? It's on our CBOC website?
Yes, but that's
Okay.
not the press release thing.
No, I understand. Yeah, yeah, but, okay, all right. So there won't be a final press release yet. is what I'm trying to understand.
The press release will pertain to a quick summary of what we've done in conjunction with going through the school.
And like I said, as soon as I see it, I'm gonna jump all over just to, I'm expecting it now especially, so. Yeah,
Gonna get a lot
I
of
know the
emails.
time is critical, so we want to get that, I'll give him his feedback.
But this is totally different than that whole report bit.
No, I know, but just, when it's a press release, you want to get that sooner rather than later, so.
I don't know if I mentioned that before, but you brought up the press release, and that would be a good way during the year to give short interim reports on, just current happenings, something happened, and then, a collection of those would be the basis for our report. And I think the newspapers would be very open. I know we have just started again, but for a while we were doing, for the taxpayer organization, a taxpayer update, and, it's a short column, maybe addressing 2 or 3 items, and if we did that, then those would be the basis, maybe expand upon and some other things, but that'd be the base for our annual report.
So maybe form a press release subcommittee?
And those, for those that pay attention and read the newspaper, or, I know newspapers aren't the most popular method of getting out to people, but we talked about other social media. If we did these press releases, kind of people would, they go and they wait a year or longer and they say, I think there was a committee, but I haven't heard anything about them.
Exactly.
And those type of things, people said, hey, maybe, good, and those press releases, we could announce our next meeting, and maybe we might fill up a few seats out there.
I'd like to see us maybe use Facebook Dixon 411.
Yeah, that was.
I know the school boards used it. I know they've gotten feedback on their posts of their meetings and so on and so forth, so it may not be a bad venue. I would be more than happy to be a part of that subcommittee to generate those press releases and get those out there in a timely fashion, maybe on a routine basis where, now it's kind of expected that, hey,
I think we had
CBC there.
talked about the social media. Didn't we assign the website committee to release social media stuff, whatever info we want to release? So if maybe we can form a subcommittee to do this press release, that way it's for sure that group or whatnot. And then, just like regular committees have deadlines, and then maybe forward the information to the, what do you guys, website committee?
yeah, forward it to the website committee or,
They were gonna release it to other social media. It's not,
There's like the DUSD Facebook page, there's the Dixon High School PTO, almost all the schools have their own. We can
And the
share it on
Dixon
all
411.
those, so if the parents are,
And, if we're open to, and I think we have been open to, and we've talked previously about, communicating with members from other oversight committees from other districts and whatnot, LinkedIn is a good one too. Just to kind of put our status out there and how we're doing and, what's going on, what the current updates are. So let's look at that.
Okay.
so should we do we need to form one now, or?
I'll make a motion that we form a subcommittee for social media, press
Press
releases.
release.
I'll take a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Congratulations, you're in charge of something again.
Gary, Robert, sorry.
Yeah.
So is it just Robert then?
Yeah, if I get overwhelmed, I'll let you know. I just with
It's just
going
a
with
quick-
Facebook and with LinkedIn is pretty quick. Getting some notes from you guys. I'll give you a first pass via email. What do you think? And if I get the blessing, then bang, I'll put it up there. We'll go from there.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right, public comment? On the item C under number 2 agenda, follow up after walkthrough. Okay.
But what about the actual walkthrough?
Okay, so we get that, we will schedule the walkthrough under new business,
Oh, okay.
so. All right, so we'll move on to 3 reports of officers and subcommittees.
I think
Contract,
that's tied to the annual report pretty much.
yeah, we did.
So,
Anything else under committees, or I'm sorry, under contracts?
no, I mean, we've
Oh.
already brought up the concern about, receiving contracts, and I'm sure Gary and I will get together and have more questions.
Yep, and we now have the press release committee. And am I missing anything?
Website?
Which,
You guys updated the email address, but we need to correct it now. But,
Andrea
Or
created
the
the
positions.
maximum that she could, and then a couple of us had to create our own. The only thing, and I don't know if Gary is going to speak to this, you had sent the email about certain things that need to be on the website. So I don't have that expertise. I mean, we can make some adjustments and review the website, but you know specific items that you,
Yeah, there's 2 things that is content of the website, and I'll go back to our September meeting when we discussed that. There are some mandatory items, and then there's other things that we discuss. We can have anything, it's our website. We can have anything we want on the website, but, basically, agendas of meeting, minutes of meetings, copies of any reports to citizens, copies of the annual performance audit and the financial audit, and copies of all documents received by this committee.
Yeah.
And that includes items that are brought to this committee as attachments to the minutes. They belong, those are public records, and they belong on our website with, if we're doing it by meetings and in those, attached to those meetings. And there's items that are missing, recent items that correspondence we had from the school board. I brought that up. And it was a agenda item last time. I drafted a letter to respond to it. I guess the committee decided they didn't want to forward the letter, but that's still an attachment to minutes. And there's no record on the website of that correspondence between us and the district, and that belongs. We're missing the correspondence. The auditor sent a letter about a planning note for this year's audit, and it's addressed to this committee. It's not on our website, and to my knowledge, we never received it. I got a copy off the district's website, but it should have been on our website, and we should have received a copy directly from them. So, there are things that are missing, and I guess my concern is, I know we have a website committee, but I don't know if we specifically tasked the website committee to make sure everything is on that website.
I think it was more design and making sure that some of the content, but I mean, so Andrea and I can definitely meet with John or whomever.
Our IT department is controlling it now.
They are, so it's no longer the,
No, I have no business controlling a website, and that's what I have been saying since day one. So our IT department has taken it over.
the Measure Q one.
Yes.
It was another company that was doing it. or
Well, the other
something.
company had built that website, but
Okay.
maintaining it is actually being done by the IT department.
Okay.
Because that's where it should fall. It's
Well,
definitely not something that I should.
We need I don't think that's something, you got enough to do, John, with this project.
Absolutely.
I think we need a direct link from this committee to the website, who's ever maintaining it.
So perhaps like maybe an audit can be performed between what our committee feels should be up there versus what is up there and dealing directly with your IT person? Something like that? Can we set that up?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
So
that's,
unfortunately, there's other pieces, right? So what's gonna happen is you're gonna determine what you think should be up there or what you wanna see up there. right? Then those documents either have to come out of my office or the business office, and then from there, and unfortunately, it's bureaucracy, right? But then from there, they go to IT, and IT gets them posted. So it's really just about, let us know what it is that you're looking for, right? We'll make sure that it gets up there, but it's just a matter of everything that's up there. Is the website absolutely complete? No, we know it's not. We're doing the best that we can as far as getting everything up there, but I am concerned with, because we had seen this once before, and now, like Tad talked about, we're seeing it again, where stuff is going up there and it's not there. So
Gary had sent Andrea and I an email listing these things that he just mentioned. Should we forward this to your IT person and then give them?
no, send it to me, because
you.
it's IT isn't gonna, IT will just post what they're given. So they don't have access
Okay.
necessarily to those documents.
So do you have everything in the email that you had sent, Gary, that you feel is missing? So if we forward that to John,
No, those were, I just mentioned some recent things. It wasn't a comprehensive list, if you would. I'm not sure how many other items that I'm,
So do you mind maybe forwarding that to the rest of us, and can we tap on to what you have already, and we can add on what we feel should be included on the website? Is that okay?
yeah.
okay,
But you'll be the liaison between,
Sure.
you know, us and the district?
and then we can send that to you, you can give it to the IT department, and then we'll have some kind of a 2 or 3 week deadline, and then we can go back and check to see. that
Sure, and what I
everything's-
would say is just do me a favor and keep me off of the email chain until you have a complete list. Because the last thing we want to do is start gathering documents, and then you need other things, and so this way you have that. And then as far as the deadline, any contracts, anything that I have, I can get you pretty quick. Anything coming out of the business office, I can't tell you how long it's going to take, because I'm not in the business office.
Okay.
Typically speaking, yeah, a few weeks should be doable, I would think, but I don't want to speak for our CBO.
And then maybe when you send that email to John, maybe you set up some sort of status meeting or call to verify, you know, after your deadline. Set up
That's what
some
I'm
sort of
saying,
status
yeah.
call with them or with John or whatnot, you know, to verify that everything that is on your list is actually showing up.
And I just line copy everyone? Correct?
Well, this is procedural stuff, so it's not going to be caught up in the Brown Act stuff. We're not
Okay.
voting on it. This is just the
Collecting
machinations
information.
of the committee.
Yeah.
Asking.
John, so you mentioned the website's not fully functional. You're aware of that. Is there any overarching plan to build this out fully? And if so, is there a timeline associated with
Well-
that? Do you have funding to do it? Do
It's
you
not
have
a matter of
resources?
fully functional, it's a matter of whether or not everything is up there. So everything being up there, it's just a matter of that comprehensive list, and we'll get it up there. As far as function is there, all of it. Now, as far as any issues that we're seeing, like what you mentioned before, the company that built that will go in and fix those issues. So as we find any issues, which that you're destined to find, right, we can have that corrected. But the functionality of the website is absolutely there.
There are a few little issues here and there.
So, and here's the thing, I don't spend my time on the website searching through it, trying to find those issues, right? Just because, as you all know, I do have a full plate. If you see issues, send them to me.
Okay.
Because I'll send them right over to the company. I'll send them first to our IT department, you know, can you fix this? Even though they didn't design the website. Because if it's a simple fix, it's easier just to have it done in-house. And if not, then we'll send it back to Cooperative Strategies and they'll make the corrections. They've been really good about correcting anything that we need, and even correcting mistakes that I've made on the website and things like that. So,
John, I have a question in regards to the website. Are we on a by request basis in terms of documents? Like, the question that I have primarily is in terms of contracts. If you know you're gonna go out to solicit, is there a way maybe to just add a link to the CBOC website, so that way any solicitations that you have, we can already see, rather than us keep requesting, because
So-
we may forget.
what I would say is I would probably want to just put a link that says basically open solicitations, and if you click that, it would take you to the district's website.
Right.
Just because of the fact of, otherwise, if we're posting it, it's adding a lot more work to the
No,
district.
I totally
right?
understand that,
So
yeah.
if that's good with you, it's a very easy link to create that says, you know, for open solicitations or all prior solicitations, we'll figure out the wording, but it'll just take you, we have on our website, like we have one for RFPs and RFQs, a button for that, and that would be under there. Now, contracts don't go up that way. Contracts, we'll put an announcement on the website, but contracts, as you know, there's very specific law that goes around how do we advertise contracts. If it's over 175,000, we have to use the archaic method of the newspaper. We have to post in the local paper for a minimum of 2 weeks, right? And then on top of that, we send it to the electronic bid boards. We also send it out to any pre-approved contractors, pre-qualified, so on and so forth. If it's under 175, then we just have to get 3 bids. We don't necessarily have to go through the expense of posting it. So there's those we don't see on our website. But we'll make an announcement on the website. So yeah, if we can give you a button that links it back to ours, that's easy.
It's just that it's hard to try to remember, or perhaps, us keep asking you, what did you solicit for this time or whatnot? It's just better that, information is already readily available rather than us requesting for it. You get what I mean? And then the next question that I have is, does your department typically provide an update to the district, to the board, perhaps like on a monthly or quarterly basis regarding the projects? And if so, can we get that summary?
So
Or
as
is that
the
already on the
projects-
district?
We've talked about this with the board. So every board meeting, I give them an update, whether it's in a 3-minute report or an actual presentation. There's constantly projects going on in my office, right, that are district-wide that aren't bond as well. As the bond projects really begin to kick off, because what we've seen across the street is a lot of small ancillary work, right? We've done the blueprints for the Gretchen Higgins security project, but we haven't really began rolling. I've spoken about this with Superintendent Dolan as well as the board president, and one of the things that we're planning on doing is, as we get closer to the end of this calendar year and projects really start to take off, is just like a monthly newsletter out of the facilities department. So that would be in conjunction to the reports that we're already giving to the board, but we recognize that most of the citizens aren't at the board meetings, they're not watching the board meetings, right? So that newsletter would go out through a listserv, and obviously the CBOC would be included in that.
Okay, perfect.
It's just not something that's been done yet, because Arania talked about earlier that it's been 2 years in November since the community voted to approve the bond, right? Then it was approved, I believe, in March or April, and I believe that was around the same time that the bond was sold, or the bonds were sold. That being said, though, there's a ton of work that goes on in the background with design and design development and everything else that takes years to get these projects rolling. So the whole point of not having the newsletter, it was very strategic to not put that newsletter out prior to that, because there's nothing more frustrating, I think, for the public than to hear to say, okay, we're very busy, there's nothing to report. Because there's really not. What do you want me to hear about the architect meetings and things like that? There wasn't. We're coming to a point, though, as we're starting to see some of the back checks come out of the Division of State Architect, things like that, that there will be things to report. So those will be included in the
And then
newsletter.
you do report whether you're on budget, on time,
Yeah, so
here's the next 3 months worth, or whatever, however you guys do your newsletter, if it's monthly. But I mean, stuff like that will be on, I'd like to be able to use the information there. That's
Sure.
all I'm trying to get
Sure,
at.
and,
see-
and the newsletter, you say as far as how we do the newsletter, hasn't been done yet. So this is something that it will come out of my office, like I said, as we get closer to the end of the calendar year, probably November, December timeframe. And so the format is going to be a little bit of a work in progress on what we're going to include. It'll probably projects that are going on, upcoming projects, things like that. But we want to we need to have those mediums to get that stuff out there, right? But prior to that, what's there to know? We did design development. Now we're doing construction documents. We're in DSA.
Okay.
That's not sexy, right? I mean, that's what the video was for, was to show the
Right.
public what are we actually doing. Look, there's work happening. But that was kind of the extent of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
And
Then
I'm sorry to
so-
use that expression. It's the only expression that there is, right? 'Cause-
Okay, but I mean, so eventually, whenever the newsletters will be available, if it's possible to perhaps post that also on our website, whenever you guys get to
Yeah,
that point.
no, absolutely.
That's it.
Okay, I think that wraps up the subcommittee reports. Public comment on subcommittee reports? Okay. Any,
Hold on.
The website. Everything that goes on the website is public records. I volunteer to keep up the website with all the information. It's easy to do. You just need the password to get in the website. I designed my own website when I did Measure N, the Open Government Initiative, and I heard comments of people. It was well done. I have people who do that for their job, can ask them for their help. And like I said, I volunteer my time to keep the website up to date.
Thank you. Okay, so item 4 is general public comment. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, unfinished business and general orders. I see none listed. So we'll move on to item 6, new business. We've already talked about A, setting a date for the next CBOC meeting, which will either be September 26th or that first Wednesday in October, depending on the room availability. So let's move on to B, under new business, discussion of our third attempt at scheduling our walkthrough.
So looking, I know it was initially proposed to keep it on Wednesdays in the evenings, right? So looking at that and just looking at my schedule as well, I can offer right now the 12th or the 19th of September. Those 2 Wednesdays I'm available to give you guys a public tour in the evening.
When you say evening, what time frame are you talking about?
I believe we had set it up, was it for 6:30? Was that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I can be available either one of those days.
I'm traveling on the 19th, but the 12th is good.
Okay.
12th is my preferred
12
date.
works for me.
Fine with me, 12.
9/12.
What?
Wow, we got agreement on the 12th,
That's a
6:30.
That's more than a quorum.
Okay, you got it.
Awesome.
6:30.
Yeah, I mean, in 6:30 works. 6 is better as we're starting to wind out of
Yeah.
daylight.
It would
But
be
I don't
nice
know if that works for the committee. So,
Do we want to push for 6?
Yeah.
I can,
I can.
but the others.
You
Let's do
can?
6.
You're good? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do 6.
6?
It is getting darker a lot earlier.
Yeah, because daylight is a concern, so.
Excellent.
You weren't here, we'll have to get you a waiver, Robert, for you to sign.
Okay.
So.
And your hard hat.
And bring your hard hats.
I have one.
Get one?
Oh, no, you're going to get
No,
it.
he didn't get the one that was issued, he wasn't here, we have one for you,
Okay.
so.
You have to match.
Okay, any announcements?
You know, I have a question. I hate to backtrack, but I was in the military. I know what general orders are, but under 5, what does that cover for us?
General orders.
Maybe
Anybody's
George,
been in the military know what general orders are.
I've had them myself.
And you have to remember them and recount them when you're asked, but I don't know for us what that's all about.
okay.
It's just, I can tell you, we just copied it off of the districts, so I don't know what the intent was, it's been there all along, but I agree with you, right?
Just to
Being
make-
prior military, I get it. We
It's
can
just
definitely
making
take it off.
people like me ask the question, I guess.
Just drop it.
All right,
Drop it.
on that,
So if the committee would like, we will remove that.
Ay, ay, ay.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, might as well. Get rid of it. Eliminate any question.
All right, we are now adjourned.
Oh, what, what?
Remember the key there.